Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Crypto Dark Pod, presented by Blockchain Solidarity Media. We're a team of crypto sleuths ready to dive into these thick crypto weeds. We are not afraid to expose the darkness and deceptions that run rampant in crypto. From government and corporate tyranny to the scammy scammers and celebrity influencers, the Crypto Dark Pod team is more than ready to explore all the systematic and psychological tactics, the tricks and misdirection deployed on this new blockchain technology that makes prey of everyday people on the regular. We must be informed and vigilant. Together, we can learn to defend ourselves from these scamming hijackers, which is why we at the Crypto Dark Pod invite you to join us on our exploration into the dark sides of the blockchain. Go get your flashlight.
Welcome back to Crypto Dark Pod, everyone. We're back with a new guest this week. We haven't had a guest in a few episodes, so we're really excited to speak to our friend Eureka John. John has been around the crypto game for quite some time. He's a bit of an OG. I love that. I love to be called an OG, Pudding. I don't know if you call yourself an OG. I just love to be called an OG. But John's an OG. He's been around the game, and
I just call myself old.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Without the G. I'm getting that way myself, getting on a bit. But yeah, John, it's great to have you here, and we're going to talk a little bit about John's just his route into the crypto world, the scams that he's personally experienced, and some of the scams that he's not personally experienced but just seen in the crypto game. He's built his own YouTube channel for quite a number of years now, done over close to 500 episodes. So just such dedication, which is what we're about on this show. We're about highlighting people who have experienced something or just are disgusted with some of the scams out there and who actually proactively do something about it. If you remember, we had hideous hackers on. Jim had a great story, and we think John's got a really inspiring story as well as to what you can do to sort of get back, educate people, and really do something about it. So, John, and bear with us, folks. We're going through a little bit of technical difficulties, but I think we should be fine. John, without further ado, why don't you take the floor and just tell folks about yourself, your route in, and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Alex. I appreciate you having me on the show. It's weird to be on this side of the mic. I'm normally the one talking and hosting and interviewing other people. So, talking about myself, I recorded 497 episodes of my own YouTube channel. So, I did in that indirect way talk about myself quite a bit as I was talking about other crypto projects. But to just directly talk about yourself for a long time is kind of interesting and different. So yeah, I've been in the crypto space, I guess, since 2018.
Yeah, different story.
Yeah. And let's see. The reason I started crypto, basically, I just needed beer money to start out with, and I was trying to think of creative ways to just get some money that wouldn't really matter if I spent it, and because I was pretty broke at the time, and I heard about Bitcoin. I was on a work trip one time, and I walked past this crypto cafe. It was a Bitcoin cafe or whatever, and I just kept seeing Bitcoin, pop up, here and there. And so I started looking into it. I took a Udemy course on, crypto mining, and, then I just started looking into what tokens were out there, and Bitcoin to me seemed really expensive. I didn't have enough money to buy one. So I saw XRP. I was like, okay, that's a little more manageable. But either way, I still invested like $99 in cloud mining, and that's like one of the most common scams out there is the whole cloud mining scam. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with cloud mining at all.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. Well, for those who might not know, cloud mining is where when you mine, you dedicate your GPU in some cases, even in some small tokens, your CPU, or you can get your special dedicated miner, an ASIC miner, and mine, more, use a higher powered miner to mine cryptocurrency. And um, if you don't want to do that on your computer, you can basically give your money to somebody else who will, and you buy their mining power, and they mine for you, and it all goes into this account, and you can upload your money. And I uploaded $99, because that was what the ad was. And I got to watch that little graph go up over the next couple months. And they love to tell you, like, mine with us, we're the best. And not only can we mine, we can automatically trade for you. And professional traders and copy trading, that's whenever you rely on professional traders to do your trading for you because you don't know enough about the market. And I was sold hook, line, and sinker. And I was sitting there every day checking, looking at that little graph go up, and I was so proud of myself. But then like I said, I was broke, and it only lasted a couple months, and so I needed to pull that $99 out. I believe the balance was somewhere around like $250 at that time. And so 150% returns in a matter of a couple months. And yeah, yeah,
Seems
yeah,
a bit
Looking
much.
good.
A
yeah,
little bit
yeah,
too good. Yeah.
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 So I'm all proud of myself on paper, and so I go to pull it out, and I couldn't really pull it out. There was always some issues, and then I would contact support, and they would give me the runaround, and then eventually everything just disappeared. The website disappeared, and so that was that. And
You were like, "Welcome to
yeah,
crypto."
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah, exactly. I was just gonna say, isn't that like a story pudding? We've seen it before. Like, yeah, I'm sure we all have. Just like I've just seen so many like times people have said, trying to get my money out. They're not responsive in the chat, in the customer support. Where are they? That is probably one of the early signs that this is something dodgy here. But you just often hear that, I'm trying, man, I'm trying, and you get no response. So your customer support not being there is, well, maybe one of the, so folks listen.
Anytime that
Yeah.
they're showing you a picture,
Y-
whenever they're showing you a picture of like, "Oh, here, look at your chart going up, come to our site, look at how good your money is doing
mhm.
from inside of our little bubble." Uh,
Yeah.
So
Mm.
I learned the hard lesson about the importance of financial self sovereignty, of maintaining your own seed phrase, and maintaining your own wallet. And I learned the difference between centralized exchanges and decentralized exchanges. And it was a hard lesson to learn. $99 to me was a lot of money at that point. And, you know, so I think that's probably one of the
Mm.
things that people don't
Mm.
understand is that crypto.com and Coinbase and Qcoin and all that stuff are centralized exchanges versus decentralized exchanges. So that is one of the biggest differentiations I think that people need to learn at the start.
and do you think that this was a actual scam, like, or what was it, was it like they were a legit company at any phase, or they were right from the get-go, they were always just purely one of these cloud scams?
Oh, yeah, I don't think that this was legit. So I can't remember the name of the damn company, but they're not around anymore. I checked yeah, but yeah, but there are legitimate cloud miners out there. I couldn't name one. But yeah, and I don't think that so a lot of people would also go to Amazon Web Services and they would spin up miners, and they would try to mine that way, on the cloud. And I don't think that Amazon Web Services allows crypto mining anymore on their remote you know, accounts. Do you guys know?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not.
It's, is that because, John, you think too that Amazon have figured out that those kind of scams can happen? Do they want to stay out of that game? And do you think this is like in your scam? I'll just get this question in as well. Do you think a lot of people were screwed over by that specific scam that you got screwed over by? Was there a lot of? Do you get the sense that that took a lot of people down?
Yeah, I mean, cloud mining scams were running rampant. This was around 2018, and so that's whenever mining crypto, proof of work, was really the dominant way in which people were getting crypto, and proof of stake wasn't really a thing at that point. Tezos had pretty much was just getting started with their whole new revolutionary proof of stake cryptocurrency concept. And so yeah, on this Udemy course that I took, it showed you how to mine and set up miners on for all different types of coins, like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash. Everything was proof of work at that point. So yeah, cloud mining scams were pretty rampant. So yeah, I think a lot of people were affected.
Do you know anyone putting in your orbit? Like, again, me and you kind of stick to the whole sort of just, you know, stick with Bitcoin. Don't get into any of the sort of like complicated shit because like probably down to competence as well as like, skepticism about these things. But is there anyone in your immediate orbit who's involved in mining and who might have been doing it back in the day as well and got scammed by this? Have you heard of anyone as well who might have come a cropper like John?
I don't know of anyone that got like scammed through cloud mining, but I've obviously had like friends who were mining. I've sort of had these stories of like almost the stories of like I didn't get in quick enough thing. You hear like I had a friend he was like using like old computer part in the early days, like kind of I think 2009 to 2012, 13. You could use weaker. You didn't need such powerful computers. Now it's like almost pointless unless you have these like $5,000 ASICs setups and they're the most modern and so on and so forth. But so yeah, I had a friend who like mined like, 5 or 6 bitcoins with his like broken Atari or some shit, like he had all those type of stories, but he was doing it himself, right? And then this was, it's like the hilarious classic story of like I mined all of this and I sold it for pennies and didn't actually really earn because nobody quite saw how big Bitcoin was going to
Yeah,
go, right?
yeah, or people have it sitting around on some drive somewhere that they don't have the keys to anymore. They don't have their private keys.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's it. Like my actually the very first guy who started blockchain solidarity with me back a year ago, for a friend of mine, he he was one of those guys who invested in Ethereum and Bitcoin back in the earliest of days, and he lost it, and he bought quite a lot. I think we worked it out one day that he'd be sitting on a very pretty penny, like sort of triple figures in the millions, So um, yeah, and he completely lost it. Somebody, but I wanted to ask because I think folks listening, might be like, mining? Do people still mine these days? Isn't it like the big companies around the world have sort of monopolized at scale mining? Are we going to experience mining crypto like a revolution again, where it's brought back to the little guy in the room who can actually mine. I think isn't that what Bitcoiners and is it Bitcoiners that want that and think that's the way it's going to go? That mining almost going to be decentralized again, or am I getting that wrong? So basically, is there a risk that these kind of scams could pop up again for unsuspecting newbies out there, or unsuspecting just people who are in the game already who think they're going to get into mining and they could get scooped and scammed again?
Well, I mean, I don't think that Bitcoin mining is going to go back to the PC or to the GPU. There's plenty of altcoins or shite coins. I mean, I mine Ravencoin on my computer here. I have 2 GPUs in this computer, and I don't know why. I mean, every once in a while I'll trade it in for like a little bit of chump change of Bitcoin, but I just kind of do it for fun. um but Ravencoin has the cow pow mining algorithm, which is because Bitcoin, I can't remember, I don't know, remember what their mining algorithm is, but the Cow Pow algorithm for Ravencoin and a few other of these altcoins, their whole shtick is to be like, well, we're trying to make democratize mining again. We're trying to make mining accessible to the common person again, because one of the criticisms of Bitcoin is that it's gotten to the point where you have to be rich in order to be able to buy the equipment to afford to mine. So therefore, Bitcoin is no longer something that is democratic and available to everybody. So, which was one of the whole points of Bitcoin in the first place, was to allow democratization and self-sovereignty of your finances. So
Yeah, and this is actually true. I with a friend, we have fairly cheap electric in Guatemala, and so me and my buddy were like, let's do it, let's split a mining rig, and I have solar power at the hostel, and so we went on like a little 6-month odyssey of like, okay, so if we're gonna do it, we should get the newest one, and and we kind of just went through the math, and we went through all of the effort and the reality of getting it here and how much it would cost, and then kind of balancing that with what our electric bills were gonna be, and it's just it's like unattainable. You need like 10 of those things to even like make it like maybe you're gonna like get your money back, and then it's so quick, like they do these upgrades, and then your ASICs machine isn't powerful enough, and so it's not hashing fast enough, and it's yeah, I mean you're pretty much not gonna be doing this stuff without you gotta have like 10 grand to have
yeah,
like a
yeah,
real
you're
small
right.
setup, right?
But I mean, there are, okay, one current cloud mining company, and it's not really cloud mining, but you can go to like Compass Mining, for example, and they have facilities all over the world, but they have a facility in Austin as well, in which you can basically rent out some of their mining, some of their machines in their facility, and you can go into your dashboard and watch your account grow. So that's an example of like a legitimate one, but I didn't know about that until like the past like couple years.
So this is good, because this is like folks listening who do want to mine. Like, John had a bad experience with an old dodgy scamming miner, but there is folks, and without sort of like, we're not shilling anyone here. Like, that's one. There's probably a few others at this stage of the game. There's at least probably some mining companies where if you do want to mine, you're probably trustworthy. I mean, always do your own research, of course, but you want to go out there and mine. There's probably more options now, whereas there wasn't back in the day to do that more safely. Um, do you think you'd agree with that, John? There is places now to go that you
Yeah,
trustworthy enough, I guess.
yeah, there's legit places out there. It's I did this one episode a long time ago, and I still have yet to read this book, but I've heard enough summaries of it to kind of know what's going on. But the whole idea of the cathedral and the bazaar, you know, and the cathedral is where everything is proper and regulated and pristine and safe, but there's a complete lack of innovation in the cathedral. And then there's the bazaar, where you have innovation just oozing and happening, and everything's lively and chaotic, but there's a high risk of theft and and chaos going on. And that's where crypto still to this day is, until there's some proper regulation turning crypto, Web3, whatever you want to call it, turning it into the cathedral. But then at what point does that take away the whole premise of what crypto is supposed to be about?
Well, yeah, we talk about this. This is the like the catch-22. It's sort of like this never-ending, like, when crypto is up to modern standards and is easy, and we talk about this time when things are more user friendly and UIs are beautiful, and then but then the catch to that is when that actually happens, that means there's a whole shitload of third party who invested lots of money to make it beautiful and easy and are in between you and your money. So you're just like building the same system in a different place, right? So this becomes the catch-22. I find a lot of times, like we're trying to make it more cathedral and user friendly so that this idea of mass adoption happens. But as soon as that idea happens, then I just think we're entering the same game with the slightly different definitions of what was going on, and the things we're running away from, like unbanking and all of this stuff,
Let
right?
let me jump in here because I think puddings, like, we always talk about this kind of thing, John, as a sort of regular feature of the show. Sort of this conundrum of what Pudding just brilliantly put it there. Like, how do we deal with this kind of like catch-22 in crypto? Let's do that at the end of the show because that's always the lovely way to finish a show. But I do want to, just whilst we continue with your story, John, like, so this scam happened to you back sort of in your early days. Tell us a little bit more then thereafter about your journey. I'm guessing from that one scam, you haven't experienced another. You haven't seen any other scams in the crypto space. It's all been clean and wonderful since. I'm joking, of course. But no, tell us about your. Tell us about what happened after that. Your sort of journey. Like, what did you come across? What did you do after that one?
Okay. Yeah. So after that, I just started watching YouTuber after YouTuber after YouTuber. And I have this thing called an addictive personality. And I just started going down the rabbit hole, and I would stay up late at night, every night, just watching, all these crypto YouTubers, Chico Crypto, Lark Crypto, Ivan on Tech, let's see, Digital Asset News, even BitBoy, uh, oh man, it was terrible. Like all these people, and you know, I- some of them, I think a lot of them were well intentioned or are still well intentioned. But there are a lot of shysters out there too, and there's like the classic thumbnail image of this YouTuber with the red siren and the big O face going, "Yeah, dump now or buy now," and
Yeah.
oh man. And so,
God,
you,
that's
you
so
start,
prevalent, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah, we
yeah.
should do we should do an episode on that. Pudding itself, just of this, like, of these mechanisms that the bloody influencers do. Because sure you've seen it as well. This the thumbnail of the oh buy
Yeah,
now with the mouth open and the flashing light. Ah! It's like every single fucking thumbnail is like that. We should always do an episode just on these little psychological mechanisms that these guys and gals or whatever do to pull us in. But yeah, sorry to knock
absolutely.
you off track there, John. But
Yeah, no, you fall in love with these personalities, and they start getting their cult following, and then you had like the Chico Crypto versus BitBoy rivalry, and I don't know if they had planned that or not, but you get sucked in, and this one guy, Rob from Digital Asset News, I was like, he's like an easygoing guy, he says, but I do have to say, I think that guy was sincere, and he really covered a lot of scams, and he enlightened me about a lot of different types of scams through his episodes. And one of the scams was the YouTube airdrop scam, and I don't know if you guys remember this one. I think YouTube's pretty much purged itself of a lot of these scams, but YouTube breaks to commercials a lot of times, and the content creator has no control over the commercials that get interjected into them. So on these crypto channels, what happens is you'll suddenly see it cut to somebody like Brad Garlinghouse of Ripple, or Vitalik, or somebody, or Charles Hoskinson of Cardano talking, at some conference, and then it'll say, turn a half of a half of a Bitcoin into 10 Bitcoins if you just, go to the deposit now, and so it associates that commercial associates itself with the YouTuber and with whatever clip they have of some famous crypto celeb speaking. And a lot of people fell for those YouTube airdrop scams at that time. And so that's one example, of things that I would learn from YouTube. um, but overall, those YouTubers, yeah, they would pump projects, but I learned a lot, and there was some good ones and some bad ones, but you had to learn how to distinguish a difference. And I'm naturally kind of skeptical in a way. And like I said, I'm an extremely addictive personality. So I would just watch video after video after video, and I could kind of over a while just find like, what the most common denominator is, and of all you know, the scammy people, be able to distinguish a difference.
And John, what I suppose what was your motivation to spend all this time? Like were you feeling like that's never going to happen to me again with the scam? Did it just spark off an interest in you to just learn more about this space? You cared about it, and you wanted to sort of focus on like let me learn so much. I'm going to highlight the good parts of this, so like and highlight the bad parts as well. And I'm gonna take my crypto direction in that way. Was that your sort of motivation, or was there something else? Or
Well, I was working at a hose manufacturing plant up until recently, actually, and I was like, I gotta do something else. It wasn't what I wanted my life to be. Um, I I went to seminary actually in New York City, and I spent 3 years there, trying to be an archaeologist. And after I graduated from there, I was doing a lot of like presentations for my
hmm.
studies there, and I was incorporating a lot of Flash and Flash animations and PowerPoint and all that type of stuff. So I fell in love with like digital media. And then after I graduated seminary, I did an internship at a post production training school, and I fell in love with a lot of that type of stuff. And I started up an internet radio station, which at the time was very new and crazy to be able to broadcast play your records live for anybody in the world. And I built a website around that. And so I moved back from New York City back to Austin, and tried to keep doing some of that stuff, but the job market wasn't the same. And continued doing my radio station, but with actual FM radio on top of internet radio. So broadcasting was always like a passion of mine. But then I have kids and stuff, so I had to like get a job. So I built a website for a manufacturing company. And then 16 years later, down the road, I find myself still working for a manufacturing company, and I had this interest in crypto, and I was like, there's got to be a way to get back to what I love, and that's kind of broadcasting technology,
Mm, mm,
just stuff that may matter in life. And the more I was learning about crypto and the whole idea of personal financial sovereignty, a way to like break yourself out of this system that we're inevitably all going into, this digital economy, and how can we exist in this digital economy while maintaining some kind of personal sovereignty? And the whole idea of personal sovereignty and freedom tied into my old seminary experience about like personal spiritual sovereignty ties directly into personal financial sovereignty and freedom and stuff like that. And so um, I started understanding, through all the YouTubers and stuff like that. And once about the whole idea of how we are diving into this whole metaverse, for lack of better words. Metaverse isn't just about your 3D avatar walking through like a little world. All our banking information, all our health information, everything is going digital. And all that information and all that data is being uploaded into a metaverse and is owned by somebody else. Well, as we're going into that metaverse, all our lives are being owned, and so how can you break away from that enslavement? And that's where it all started to click for me. And watching these YouTubers explain ethereum and as an operating system, and bitcoin as the keys to mining, the democratization of mining your own cryptocurrency outside of the financial system, and being able to interact and buy and sell back and forth without going through an intermediary it was all starting to click for me, and how it all ties together. So I was like, man, I have got to just continue this and then apply things that I like broadcasting and creating content and videos and audio, and mesh it all together. So I was still working at the hose factory, but every single morning I would wake up at 4 in the morning. I still do. And I would get up and I would record an episode and of just me poking around some kind of crypto project. And I would just choose a token to focus on. And I would read Cointelegraph and CoinDesk and whatever, at night going to bed. And I would try to think up, what am I going to talk about the next day? And I would just talk about that token. And I would sometimes just completely bomb it and get it completely wrong, what that project was trying to do and what it was all about. But it was my journey, and it was me documenting that journey, and me trying to figure out all these terms. I had no idea what an automatic market maker was, or impermanent loss, or even like things like trusted execution environments, or atomic swaps, or
Who
minor
does?
extracted value, or
Yeah.
zero knowledge proofs. I had no idea. I didn't even know what finance terms were, like an index fund or an ETF was, like, so all this was just brand new. Yeah, so I'll pause for a second.
I don't know any of those. I don't know what any of those words are either. Pudding, do you know what any of those words are? Even now, I don't. Yeah.
It's the same, like it's very reminiscent when I hear you talking of the way that I jumped into it as well. I was incredibly bored with my life. I was super frustrated with just kind of like creating, my own personal trap for myself, and then being like, oh my God, this was my dream. Now I'm not in my dream. And it was like, honestly, like crypto, and just diving into crypto, and having that moment of like, what the fuck is going on in this space? What are these words mean? And so I just spent, a good portion of 2017, listening to podcasts, listening to things, trying to wrap my head around this terminology, and in a way rediscovering a type of passion in my life, a type of excitement, and feeling like I was like learning something fresh and important, and something that was gonna be part of the future. So I definitely, I feel your
Yeah,
your
yeah.
journey there.
And this is partly why we do the podcast as well. Pudding. I mean, I was telling John, before the show when we spoke the other day, we've done episodes on actually trying to break down these words, these words that go over everyone's heads, that kind of like, you know, just try and like make it all too sophisticated, and or it's part of the scam or whatever else. So even on that, it's such an important thing. And yeah, it's great that you brought that sort of passion to educate, passion to learn for yourself, um, to to a YouTube channel. And getting up at 4 a.m. is absolutely unbelievable for this long, John. So like, that is amazing. Just everyone like should be so happy with that. More and more people we need that do that kind of thing. And you've done almost 500 episodes now, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I guess the whole idea behind it is it's imperfect, and I started out just my webcam, my terrible webcam at the time, terrible audio, me feeling uncomfortable in front of the camera, and just stumbling over myself, and just making up stuff as I go along. And th- I think what I really wanted people to see is the imperfection and the process of it. and the stream of consciousness. And, with all these polished, how can I be a YouTuber without being a YouTuber, like, and so I was just like, yeah,
Yeah.
part of growing and part of living is not being afraid to suck until you don't.
Yeah. It's funny because I chose the name Buttcoins. I was really into Steam and Steam it. Back in the day, I was like always looking for utility, actual utility, and I was like, oh, social media. So I created this name Buttcoins there on Steam it, which is now hard forked and has become Hive. But anyways, the point being was I was just like I wanted to be Buttcoins because like there's something that smelled, there was something like bodily fluids, the rawness of humans, and like everybody was trying to be so polished and perfect, but I'm like, but your ass smells, my ass smells, probably a bunch of these coins smell, and so that was like some of the thought process that was going on behind my name in and of itself and what my journey was about. It was sort of like this space is too kind of like I don't know, too techy and boring and dorky. And there's got to be some fun and bodily fluids and joking and not taking ourselves so
Mm,
serious, right? And
Exactly.
mm,
so yeah, this is
yeah. Yeah. That's exactly. And just that made me think, John, like just off what Pudding said and what you said, like as sort of this is our first insight into someone who not only creates content in this space, but has been creating it so long and is a YouTuber. I don't think we've spoke to a YouTuber before, so I really want to know like what are the sort of like sort of you know you're trying to create content that and its central kind of mission is to educate people and unravel some of these things and along the way sort of get people to avoid sort of scams and sort of unravel this whole system of crypto that that can go over a lot of our own heads. What I want to know is like how do you balance this kind of like um thing, I guess, of creating good content that feels authentic, but also on the other end you want to grow your channel, because who else out there in the YouTube world creates like just purely sort of educational content in this space? And do you think like the YouTubers out there who they're just kind of they don't want to do this kind of content, they want to do clickbaity content, they want to do pump dump content? There's just not the there's not the clicks there for sort of just true authentic educational style content. What do you think about that world? What do you think about those influencers who don't do this? And what was your journey like? Getting up at that time in the morning to just do this kind of thing. What do you think?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I was kind of scared to get followers, because I was terrified of the criticism and of, being responsible as well for whether or not somebody like put their money into something that I was talking about. So I didn't really go for it for the followers. I was also YouTube wasn't the how I started. Actually, I started doing it on Theta Network, and I was on Odyssey and BitChute, and what else? There was another one, but either way, um, I was very anti YouTube at that point, and I'd slowly come around to being like, all right, just do it on YouTube also. But yeah, I was scared of the responsibility of it and the criticism and stuff like that. So I didn't care about the followers, but as a byproduct of that, I think I ended up getting a lot of trust with a lot of people because they saw that I wasn't really trying to sell them something, and that every single project that I approached was kind of just like, well, let's check this
Mm.
thing out. So yeah.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Love that. Yeah. Like, let's dive into this and yeah, let's pull it out and like, that's no bullshit here. Yeah. I love that. God, if only so many more people are just like true as that. But tell us this also, because, yep, I mean, 500 episodes. Let's go down this route. I'm sure you have seen some friggin' crazy scammy shit in your time, what would you say are some of the key ones that sort of stick out in these kind of many years, from the crypt? I was gonna say when crypto was the Wild West, but my God, it's still the Wild
Yeah,
West. So
still.
what do you see as the kind of just some ones that maybe less known or well known, but like you just want to highlight for our audience who might not have heard them before?
Yeah, totally. I think, let's see. There was I've narrowly avoided a couple. I wouldn't say a lot of them are scams. I think a lot of these projects had well-intentioned people and teams behind them, and then just like the pressure got to be too big or something. I don't know. Or maybe they were not well-intentioned, or maybe there was one person in there at the top that was not well-intentioned, but it just failed for some reason or another. Or maybe a hack was too big for it, and then everybody bailed after that. Like for instance, one of the first times I encountered a failed project was Acropolis, and Acropolis I think is still an active project, but there was a big Qcoin hack or something like that, and I was part of that Telegram group, and I would follow along, and I noticed there started to be a lot of infighting. I was just like, "Ugh, I got a bad feeling about this," and so I pulled my money out of that DeFi project. And then like a week later, they had their like Qcoin bridge hack, and everything, completely dropped in price, and a lot of people lost their money. So I was really happy that I pulled my money out of those DeFi vaults at that moment. And, that was like one of the first times I'd ever like really used DeFi. Synthetics and Acropolis were the two projects that that made DeFi click for me and understand what it was all about and how to use it. And yeah, so I narrowly avoided getting rug pulled from that. And for those of you who don't know, a rug pull is basically whenever you invest your money into a crypto project and you get those tokens in exchange for the dollars that you put into it. And then suddenly the developers or the team, all the core people disappear. And then you're stuck holding the bag, and the rug gets pulled out from under you. And yeah, that's a rug pull. So that was I don't know whether that rug pull was intentional or not. And sometimes rug
Yeah.
pulls aren't intentional because they happen from things like hacks, that happen. And so then the team doesn't know what to do, and everybody's panicking, and then that's kind of an unintentional rug pull. But yeah. And then the next one that I narrowly avoided was Celsius. And that's a more well-known one. And Celsius network was being
Yeah.
promoted all over digital asset news, and he was collaborating with the host, and Alex Mashinsky, the CEO of Celsius Network, was collaborating with the YouTuber host Rob on there on digital asset news. And I trusted that guy Rob, and I still think the guy's a good guy, but he won't claim Alex Mashinsky anymore. But yeah, I actually used Celsius Network and put in a bunch of Bitcoin that I had saved up and Ethereum and borrowed against it to buy my car and have a good down payment on my car. And so I got my car, and then over like a year, I paid back and I got my Bitcoin and Ethereum out. And then I closed my Celsius account like a week before all that stuff happened as well. So somebody upstairs was like watching. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow, dude.
Dude,
So
you're some sort of like I
Wow.
don't know, some sort of mystic. Is this guy, or like what's going
Yeah.
on? Are you like some sort of clairvoyant or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
but
mean, yeah,
not
somebody was
financial
watching
advice,
over me.
but take my word for it.
Yeah.
Uh,
But and I was talking
yeah.
good about
So it was
Celsius on my
coincidence that
channel.
you were just getting out of these. Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying good things about Celsius and about There was another one I can't remember, but like I was like, this is a great way to go around the credit system. You don't have to have stellar credit. You can just borrow against your crypto outside of the system and have the cash to put down on things like a house or a car. It's amazing, and the concept of it is amazing. And so that's what's always kept me in the crypto space, is the whole idea that you can work outside of the system in a financially sovereign way without having to basically bend the knee to the credit system. And that's how I got a good, I mean, I still use the credit system, but that's how I was able, with terrible credit at the time, to get such a good down payment, because I was able to borrow against my own crypto, and do it in a fairly self-sovereign way. So yeah, there was some good out of that.
This is the trick, is so much, conceptually, or like the idea of this coin or the utility, so much of it is like, oh, that sounds cool, that sounds really good. And then when you get into the nitty gritty of the actuality is where we start getting into
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
issues. Is because, like, wow, that sounds like a great idea, but then luckily for you, you got kind of in and out of Celsius before the kind of fallacy of it, the fallacy of like these gains that are
Yeah,
unattainable, like forever. Like a lot of people are selling these concepts, to get people in the
exactly.
buzz, but then they're just not sustainable. Which I
Yeah.
think that's more
Yeah,
or less
they
what happened
they
with
were
Celsius, right?
taking your money, and they were basically i- using that money to invest in other types of platforms, and then gaining the interest on it again. Rehypothecation is the term, and banks do this. Fractional reserve banks do this. You deposit $100 in the bank, they keep 10% of it, $10 of it, and then they use $99 of it, and they go invest in
Mm-hmm.
stocks or money market accounts and take that interest, and they're rehypothecating your money. And that's exactly what Celsius was doing. But then it got to the point where a lot of these larger institutions were crashing, and then Celsius didn't have the money to back people pulling out, and everything, just the house of cards, collapsed. And so that's
Well,
So
this
yeah.
kind of like reminds me of, or just the concept that we have like a 6 to 9 month period every 3 to 4 years when the bull run starts, right? And it ramps up, and for that magic, like 6 to 9 months, maybe pushing a year, everybody gets to feel like they're a great trader. They're like, oh, I'm making so much money. I'm so smart, and they can tell themselves all these stories. And then the crypto bubble crashes like it always does, and then people lose their shirts, and they're, oh, I'm such an idiot. I did it. But what I when I was listening to what you were saying, I was like, wow, this shit is happening like on the personal level, but it's also happening in the actual platform level, or the company level. So companies like Celsius is like comes on the market right before like the bull run, and then they have like this sweet kind of year. Luckily you joined it during that year that it did well. It did the things that it said, right? But then eventually, all of these risky trades that they're making, all of it's going great in the beginning because everybody's winning in that beginning of the bull run. And then all of a sudden, oh shit, the bull run is over, and now we can't sustain these crazy like trades all the time, and then people are just fucked. And like, so the whole so just like
Uh-huh.
the
The house of
individual
cards. Yeah. Yeah.
starts losing these companies that kind of came in on a flash, they also start falling.
So, John, let me ask you here, because as putting it, there's just so many instances of there. Of the big companies, like Luna was another. God, you could just keep going on and on and on. But let me ask you this, because I think this cloud mining thing for me, I think for Pudding as well, was we didn't know too much. We knew a little bit, not too much. And on the last episode, we had a guy on, friend of the show, who was talking about airdrop scams, and that was fascinating for us to learn about. So my question to you is, like, in all of your sort of years to do this, of doing this, rather than sort of individual scams themselves, is there any sort of other typologies of scams, airdrops, cloud mining, that you're seeing now or that have been around for a while but are creeping back, that folks listening might need to keep a lookout for and stay away from? Any sort of broad-based typologies like that you want to highlight?
Sure. Yeah, I mean the airdrop scams for sure. If you open up your MetaMask wallet and you see like you have $1 billion worth of, I don't know, some weird token, like fun token or something. I don't know. Myconium, there's
Yeah.
mycelium or something token for a while. And that's a scam, and you go to the website and you try to look up the token ticker and yeah. So don't click on any of those links, and just ignore the token. Don't try to sell it, and it'll probably go away. So yeah, I've had that happen. I still have some
Yeah,
random
it'll take it
weird
back. Yeah,
NFTs and
yeah.
tokens. Yeah. There's another one too that's a little less obvious, and I was for a while on Polygon and on Avalanche and on Phantom Chain. Yeah, I was totally going 100% degen. And if you don't know what degen is, I guess it's short for degenerate, and it's where you basically just like go into these DeFi platforms and you deposit something for like, over 100% return, and if you see something that's like over 100% return, it's a total degen, platform. And there's some people that can get in there and get out and make some decent money off of these degen DeFi platforms. One of them was like a yield aggregation platform, and it's still around to this day. It's on Arbitrum and Polygon Adamant Finance. But for a while, I was like addicted to going in Adamant Finance and like finding like weird tokens and stuff, and like buying that token and dumping in and matching in their yield aggregators and liquidity mining on those things, and for the extremely high yields. And there was one called Arcadium and the My Friends token as well. And their shtick was you would jump into their liquidity mining mechanism, and they would say, okay, on this day, we're all going to migrate over to this other liquidity mining token, and you have a limited amount of time to transfer your tokens, like maybe 48 hours. And then after that, the door closes.
Yeah,
So
where have we
it's
heard that before? Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So it's not like, a total scam, but it's like kind of a soft scam is what I would call it. And, and I wasn't really paying attention to their Telegram and all that stuff. And I was just kind of going through the website and I saw something like some kind of notification, but I didn't pay that much of attention to it. So I missed that little window. And so I went in there. I was like, "Hey, man," into the Telegram. I was like, "I missed the window because it looks like everybody migrated over to another." Because the My Friends token was based off of a Red Hot Chili Peppers theme, which I never really liked that band anyway. But whatever. And then they were all migrating over to the Dark token, which has like a Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon motif. And so I went to their Telegram. I was like, "Hey, man, I missed the window." He's like, "Sorry, bud, too bad." I was like, "That's kind of lame," He's like. And he's like, "What the hell, dude? You calling us scammers? We're not scammers." He started cussing me out. And I was like, "All right, man, whatever." Like, I'll just like,
All right,
I don't even want to deal
scammers.
with
Yeah,
somebody like that. I'll
yeah,
just cut my
yeah,
losses
yeah,
there. So, yeah.
yeah.
John, I have a question for you that we kind of ask people in general. And this is just more like a broad based question of like, if okay, so we live in this community that's a kind of wild west, so the scams are abounding, and you really have to be vigilant and be careful. But I'm curious if you see like what a world where the scam prevalent reality that is the current state of crypto, like what what does a less scammy cryptoverse look like to you? What would be like there? What would need to happen in order for there to be less scams and less reason for people to scam? So it's just, this is more of a broad question of like how you see a world with less scams in crypto. What would be some of the mechanisms that would need
Well,
to
that's a good
we
question,
would need to
man.
start seeing?
Because I think a lot of why crypto and decentralization and privacy all came to the forefront was because it was tied to money. And money is a really good motivation, and it's why a lot of people got into crypto, because they saw an opportunity to work outside the system to make money. Like if you're at a really famous club like a Chrome Shirt Club down in Miami or something that allows only rich people in, you're probably going to have to stand in line for hours, and you'll probably never make it in the front door. But if you know the tech, and you are able to like work their lighting system or something like that, then you can get in through the back door. And technology allows people to get in through the back door of things, and that's kind of what crypto has allowed. It's allowed the everyday Joe to be able to learn the tech and be able to get into some wealth mechanisms through the back door. And I just I think that crypto needs to break away from just a financial use case, and the whole idea of decentralized data, of decentralized journalism, all that stuff. To me, is something that will is it possible to have a truly decentralized ID, and the whole idea of private ownership in the metaverse. Because, like, for instance, if somebody owns something, they get to create that reality of it. Like the Magna Carta was signed in like the year 1000 or something. That was gave the whole idea of private property ownership. Before that, the kings and everybody ruled the reality of the peasants because they owned the land. And in the same vein, somebody that owns all that digital data can create the reality for everybody, as they have to put their identities and their lives in this digital metaverse online. And so if you are able to own your own data, not just financial data, but all your own data, your personal data, you can create your own reality in the metaverse and in this digital space that is basically we're headed towards it one way or the other. So might as well create some personal sovereignty to it. And so that's kind of it. It's way
That's
bigger than just the financial application, and people don't understand that. And once people start to
that's an
understand that, then I
interest.
think a lot of the scams are going to fall away.
That's an interesting take, Pudding, because and the amount of times we've talked about this and how to do this and get away from the scams and stuff, I don't think we've explored that angle of it enough. How so much of why this happens is folks trying to make a buck, and folks trying to make a buck off somebody else making a buck in a really seedy sort of way. So if you take out this kind of dynamic of wealth generation and money being the primary thing, and look towards how can I build sort of value or wealth, or not wealth, value in other ways, or sort of some sort of thing that gives my life some meaning or power or influence or whatever you want to be. Um, there's less opportunity to be like, I mean, if you're getting money from your data, it's going to be harder for a scammer to set up a scam to do that, perhaps, or it's just a completely different dynamic. If you have a wallet between you and the company.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is basically moving the focus when and if this moment happens, when you can move the focus from financial, that get into crypto so that you can make money or gain wealth, and switch that to get into crypto to own your own digital sovereignty. So it sounds like you're saying like that naturally, if we naturally switch to the get into crypto to gain control of your sovereignty over your digital footprint, not over getting rich, that the scams will naturally like be less because you're getting into it for maybe a more admirable, legit reason or something like that.
Well,
Yeah.
I think there's also something to be said about like sort of not wanting to get so rich so quick, John. I think that is like a real sickness in our culture. People want to make it now and make it big now, whereas maybe if it was something like, you know what, let's me, you, and John get over the next 2 years, 500,000 people to buy in to get into our community, where we create a sort of structure around sort of what we talked about last week, putting on the pod of like this army or an NFT army or sort of idea of tracking down scammers and creating almost like a micro economy to do that. And so we get a lot of good stuff out of that, but we also create an economy around it, and all of us who are involved in that can benefit in some way. And it can be maybe financial, where we can cash out of it, or maybe it's something, you can trade the NFT that you're part of the community in for some other access over there. That's really worthwhile. So there becomes difficult ways and for scammers to get at us. So this is a really interesting angle that I think we have to explore a little bit more. John, it's been really nice to have you on. You know so much about this stuff, and I really like the way you break it down. I feel like we're gonna put in. What do you think? I think we could have John back on. God, just if we wanted to break down a scam, get into the sort of details of it, sort of a lot more than we tend to do. We could do like an episode where we sort of dive in this particular like mechanics of it and really break it down. I think that could be really interesting. It's been really interesting talking to you, John. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been great chatting. Yeah, nice
Yeah.
hearing your
Thanks. Yeah. And
experiences.
I
Yeah,
could even
you
go
go
even further
when
down
are
the
you going to
rabbit
get to
hole.
the?
Yeah. Just let me know. I'm always down.
Oh, there's so many rabbit holes, isn't there, in this world? I think that's what I'm driving at here. Like, let's get John back on and just go dive down a particular thematic rabbit hole, or a particular like scam rabbit hole, and we just have so much fun going down it. But it's been a pleasure, John. We're gonna have you back soon. I suspect. Get to that 500th
All
episode.
right.
It's been really great the work you've been doing, and thanks everyone for listening, and join us on the next one. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. We're trying to get again people who have been scammed to give their stories, their really personal stories, and how they've learned more, to sort of like to learn from it and not let it happen again. That's coming up future episodes. But yeah, thanks for listening, folks, and thanks for joining, everyone.
Yeah, we got a bunch of exciting shows coming up in the next few weeks, and we really appreciate John coming in and chatting with us today. And we appreciate everybody coming in week by week and doing what we can to make a less scammy world out there, because it is a dark world in the cryptoverse, and we just we got to remember to double check everything. Stay vigilant and keep those flashlight batteries charged. We need light in this darkness, everybody. Thanks to everybody again, and we will see you in a future week.